Hey there, so in this video let's quickly go over a short example and we will see how we can use AlpineJS in conjunction with Livewire to increase the Livewire performance. To give you the demonstration, I have a simple plus minus counter UI. So basically this is an input field, and when I click plus this should increment, and when I click minus this should decrement. So let's quickly build this in Livewire. So I have a property named quantity, which is by default equal to 0, and on the front end this is the input, so I will wire model it to quantity. If I click on the plus button, the quantity should increment, so I will call the increment function, and if I click on the minus button, the quantity should decrement, so I will call the decrement function. And I will implement these two methods on my backend. Let's test this out and see if it works. So if I click plus, the quantity is incrementing, and if I click minus, the quantity is decrementing. This works fine. For every click request, we are sending a request to the server, which in turn changes this property and sends the data back to the front end, by which we are able to see the reactivity. But there is a problem in this thing. Let's say this is my local host, and if you host it on a server, so it's add a bit of a lag, and let's say user is on a slow network. So to give you the demonstration, let's say he is on slow 3G network and we are using throttling for that. So now if I click plus, it takes a bit of lag to change it to 2, and the response is not instantaneous. It's taking a bit of a time to increment the digits, and similarly for the decrement. And so if you are using Livewire for giving feedback to the user on the front end, it won't be a nice approach, and you should use AlpineJS to give feedback to the user on the front end. The Livewire task should be running on the background. So let's change this to Alpine. Let's initialize a Alpine component, and now I have quantity is equal to 0 here, and instead of wire click I'll say @click quantity minus minus, and instead of wire click here I'll say @click quantity plus plus. Instead of wire model I need to now say X model. So now if I go back and refresh, this is working fine in Alpine, and even though if I switch to the slow 3G mode, the reactivity is still there because I am doing the operations in JavaScript instead of Livewire. But the question remains is how I keep updating my backend with the help of AlpineJS. So there is a Entangle method which you can use to constantly keep updating your backend code to keep in sync with your backend code, the front end. So I'll say Entangle quantity. So with this, whenever this changes, it makes a server request to the backend to keep these two things in the sync, and now I don't need these two on my backend. So if I refresh and add throttling, it still works fine. And if you see in the Livewire, the quantity updates. Alright, so if you are using any kind of UI component, for example a model window or a like button or a rating component So all of these which involves giving feedback to the user instantaneously, prefer using AlpineJS for the feedback of users, and in the background use Entangle or any other wire methods to constantly keep your backend in sync with the front end.